Hi, welcome to my drive home. I'm trying to get where I don't have quite as annoying of sunlight in my face. I wanted to talk very briefly about something that came up. It's something that's been on my mind since yesterday morning, when it came up as a response to a post in a group that I'm in on Facebook. The person who posted into the group, basically, they were posting about watching a movie when they were younger and really enjoying this movie. They were a kid or a teenager, I don't know how old they were. They rewatched it recently and they were kind of grossed out by the movie. They realized that there were a lot of problematic elements in this movie, and they found themselves no longer able to enjoy it. One of the comments to the post was that you can't or you shouldn't judge past media by your current morals and values. And that is a statement that I hear said a lot. And it's something that we need to stop saying. That statement just needs to go away. It needs to go. It needs to be put away. It needs to be stuffed in a closet, put into the bottom of the sock drawer, and never taken out again. It's a bad statement. And it's bad for a few reasons that I want to get into. I want to first talk about where a statement like that comes from. I think that statement comes from two places. The first is that we also have the statement that we often say, that you can't judge people in the past by our morals today, or societies in the past by our morals today. And the truth of that statement is, our relationship to morals and ethics and values over time is nuanced. Because there are, in fact, values we have today that we also had in the past. Who had those values might vary. Whether or not we kept those values or tossed them aside for a little while could be an issue. So it's kind of reductionist to say that, and motivated to say that. Which brings me to my second place I think this often comes from, which is it happens when a type of point is brought up about media that might make people feel icky about enjoying that media. And yeah, I'll come back to that. But so this is where I think the statement about media comes from us applying it to civilizations and to people in the past, and to how we react to that criticism and not wanting to have that reaction about media that we enjoy. As I said, that statement when it comes to media needs to go away. It needs to be put away and never taken out again. The reason I say that is because it is bad morally and culturally, and it is simply not true. The moral and cultural reasoning, or my reasoning for saying it's bad morally and culturally, you may not agree with. That will come down to framing and your feelings about the effect that media can have on people. Media does, in fact, have an effect on people. We know this. That effect is subtle. It is nuanced, but it is there. I will put in the description a couple of links to ideas about cultivation theory from Innuendo Studios and from Folding Ideas. Both of them have really great videos where they talk about cultivation theory and other ideas as well that are related to it. But basically, it's the idea that while media is not going to make you go out and do whatever is presented in that media, violent video games or violent movies are not going to make you go out and be violent. Sexist media and sexist video games are not going to make you go out and be sexist or racist or homophobic or transphobic. They will affect how you feel about these things. Folding Ideas actually goes into this really, really well. And I don't remember the terminology that he uses. So I really recommend you go and watch the video that I'm going to link. Media affects us. It will make us feel a certain way about something. And as we continue to watch media that engenders that feeling will begin to bleed out into how we interact with those things. So, violent media will not make you violent, but it might make you feel that violence is okay in certain circumstances. It might make you feel that the world is more violent than it is. The same goes for sexist and racist ideas in media. Whatever. So the more media that you watch with a certain type of message, the more it's going to reinforce certain ideas and certain feelings. And when those ideas also get presented in other ways other than just entertainment media, you begin to see a greater and greater effect. So because the media that you consume today, no matter when it was written, is going to have that effect on you as a person, it's important to be critical of that media that is affecting you in this way. So that's why I say it is a bad statement morally and culturally, because media does affect you, and you should be critical of that effect. And you should be critical of that effect on your terms because you're the one being affected. Whatever your agreement or disagreement with me on that is totally your business. The other thing about that statement is that it's just plain false. With a very few exceptions, that's just not how we actually criticize media. Judging media is a critical act, and you do not have to be a formal critic to criticize and analyze media. We do it all the time, whether we're doing it for school or whether we're doing it because we're having a conversation over dinner. We examine media, and we don't always or usually examine media from the perspective of when it and how and why it was created. And I don't know that we ever really have. So sticking to criticism itself, you can go to Google and you can look up Taming of the Shrew, and look up feminist critique of Taming of the Shrew, and you will find essays about it. and articles about it, and about the problematic nature of that play. This is based on feminism that, in its form today, did not exist in Shakespeare's day. Some of the ideas did. Some of them didn't. Or had been pushed aside or whatever. Again, all of that's kind of nuanced. But needless to say, we are still doing that examination. Marxist criticism does this. Queer theory does this. Any kind of criticism that is a moral criticism is going to do this, because the whole point of moral criticism is to look at the moral lessons or moral effect of a media on the present. So even if we look at the morals of that work, at some point we still come back to our present. So when we criticize media, we tend to criticize media, if not from our current morals and values, using a moral and ethical and value frame that is different from when that work was created. So, yeah. It's not true to say that you can't or that you shouldn't, because we do, and most of our critical theories kind of rely on it. Even like there are historical lenses for critical theory, and one or two that require just looking at the text itself or the text in its historical context. Those are about the only ones that are going to not look at it from our moral framework. But even then, it's hard to say that you're not looking at it from that person's frame anyway. We can have debates on it, and I don't care. Again, I said, with some exception or a few exceptions, I didn't say all critical theories work like this. But even moral and ethical neutral critical frames like Aristotle's dramatic construction, there is still a value set involved with examining plot and examining characterization and examining setting. It's not a moral and ethical frame, but it is still a value judgment. And that value judgment is going to be according to what we believe those things should be now, when we're examining it. It's going to be rare that you might sometimes look at those things according to when it was written, but just as often you're going to be looking at it on the basis of today, because oftentimes you're going to be comparing it to other works, or it might be part of some kind of teaching or information about plot and about characterization. So, yeah. Even ethical and moral neutral lenses still have some kind of value judgment that is not necessarily going to be the same as what the work was created in. So, yeah. Most of the time when we are doing critical analysis, that's how we do it. And so to say that we shouldn't or that we can't is just not true. We can. We usually do. So why do we say it? Well, like I said, I think we say it in part because we say it about people and we say it about cultures. But we also say it when We have been made to feel icky about something, and we don't want to feel icky about it. And I feel like this gets said all the time, and I don't know that it's ever listened to. And it should be. It is important, vital even, to be critical of the media that you love. It's important, and it's important to be, because that media has an effect. By the same token, it is okay to love media that you are critical of. Just because a piece of media has something problematic in it doesn't mean you can't enjoy that media. Yes, people who are in groups that are affected by problematic aspects of media, we do ask that this stuff stop being made, or at least not be so prevalent in media. But that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy the media that already exists. It doesn't even mean that that media can't be made anymore. It just means that we need to look at why we're making it and why we're not making other things, media that's not as problematic, messages and themes that aren't as problematic. Yeah, we need to be examining that. And it's okay to like something that's bad. I'm not going to tell this person who made the post that they have to go back and they have to like that movie. They don't have to. That is their personal thing, whether or not to like that movie. But it would be okay and perfectly fine if they did. Because there was actually something important in that movie that they liked, and a reason that they liked it, and what they actually liked was not what was problematic. And what they actually liked was actually kind of empowering. The problem wasn't that. The problem was the how. But the how wasn't what they liked. The how came to be what they hated. And instead of hating the whole thing, you can hate the one thing or be critical of the one thing, but still like the rest because of something else good in it. In fact, doing that, recognizing something problematic and still liking the media otherwise for what's good, is actually helpful to producing better media. And for people like me, that's why I like to analyze things, is to make better media. So yeah, I'm at the end of my drive, so I'm going to cut it here. If you found this informative, then I hope you'll come back and visit again. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell to get notifications, whatever is down there. The links to the other videos, go and watch those if you've not seen them before. Subscribe to those channels if you haven't, because they're really good channels. They do really good content. And I'll talk to you later.